And Emmanuel Petit, among others. The great left back, Lizarazu as well. Wonderful player. We have a Scottish referee today. He's a bit of a fitness fanatic, I'm told. William Collum, who is a religious education teacher in Glasgow when he's not refereeing top football matches. France to kick off here. 10 of the 11 US players out there have under 10 caps. The only one who has plenty of experience really in the lineup here is Bobby Wood. Will be playing up front alongside Julian Green, but Green will also have the job of helping out the midfield. This is Varane, who's having his first prep game for France here, because of course he was involved with Real Madrid winning the Champions League a couple of weeks ago. Kenny tried to get the challenge, and then Anthony Robinson picked the ball up. Trapp playing it forward. No fear is what Dave Sarakan has said to his young players. They're bound to be a little bit nervous here because they played Bolivia, they beat them, they lost in the last minute to Ireland. This is about 3 levels up, isn't it?
Well, what was the analogy Dave Sarakan used? If Bolivia's a 35-mile-an-hour car, this is a 100-mile-an-hour car, and he's 100% spot on. I just look at this, when you're in this kind of environment, you're young, get your first couple touches under you, keep it simple, get into the game, and then forget about who you're playing and get into it.
I think the US have got to that stage, haven't they now? Because this is a time where it really hurts when a World Cup is about to start and you're not in it. I think probably nobody under the age of 40 can remember a time when the US were not in the World Cup finals. But it does give a chance to look at new players, rethink it all, reorganize, and there will be an appointment at some point in the next few months of a new permanent head coach. Dave Sarakan's made it clear he would like to be considered for that. This is Umtiti for France. The Barcelona defender has just signed a new 5-year contract this week. Here's Antoine Griezmann, who scored 2 goals here last month in the final of the Europa League for his club Atletico Madrid. Interesting to see how France go about it as Mendy tries to make some progress down that side. Just back in the nick of time from a cruciate injury, Benjamin Mendy.
Well, and that's going to be the difficult test for Shaq Moore, because Griezmann will come inside, Mbappé will come inside, so both fullbacks will push high, Mendy being one of those. So Shaq Moore's got to be very in tune with either Tyler Adams, Will Trapp, limiting that space through the middle. The difficult part for the United States, Ian, is their defensive posture. If they're going to play 5 in the back, and France is really only going to have Olivier Giroud, last thing you want to do is play 3 or 4 against 1 and leave the numbers for the French national team in the midfield.
They've had a plan, they've worked on it all week. The US trying to congest those areas centrally where they can cause a lot of damage. Make sure they're not outnumbered in there. Hacked away. Might be a lot of defending to do back there today.
Well, and Shaq Moore gets caught overcommitting here. It's a simple touch from Mendy coming inside, but good spot there from Tyler Adams to cover.
Yaska with the final clearance for the corner. Griezmann takes. It's not really dealt with by the US defense. Nobody won that header. It's come out to Paul Pogba. He'll be wanting to put on a bit of a show here today. He's been getting a few jeers from the French fans, and of course he's coming off a difficult season with Manchester United. Mbappé, now Sidibé to cut it back. The right back who was ever present in the qualifying. US give it away. Pogba! Oh, it bounced off the post. He nearly scored there. Stefan His first touch could have been to pick the ball out the back of the net.
Oh, and it's a sloppy touch from Julian Green. Weston McKennie not on the same page. Bad giveaway about 25 yards out.
It's going to take a lot of tactical discipline from these youngsters here. There's Tyler Adams, of whom there are big hopes. He's only 19, the New York Red Bulls player. Says his idol is N'Golo Kanté. Well, he's playing against him today. Again, the US give the ball away a little bit cheaply. Here's Umtiti again. He's just being held back for a moment by Green. Well played by Tim Parker. But again, the US surrendering possession too cheaply. It's Anthony Robinson, who's been featuring quite a lot for Bolton Wanderers in the Championship. In England, they had a remarkable last-day escape. Rather nervous touch that from Zach Steffen, the young and informed Columbus Crew goalkeeper. So winning only his third cap. Compared to some of those in front of him, he's almost a veteran. The USA, by the way, have never scored in 3 matches in history against France. Mendy with the cross. Nobody in a blue shirt had made a run into that area. France start their World Cup campaign in Kazan a week today against Australia. I think once the draw was made, they had a look at it and they thought the USA might be a useful warm-up for that sort of game. I'm guessing that was the logic in coming up with this fixture from their point of view.
And we go back to that sloppy giveaway from Julian Green and Weston McKennie. And Ian, you talk about tactically being disciplined. I also think you've got to show the ability to keep possession. And what we've seen in the first couple of minutes here is that the United States, when they have possession, they've given away too cheaply. You can't defend against this squad for 90 minutes and give that man opportunities unattested 25 yards out. The United States need a little bit more quality in possession here.
Again, it was given away. Now then, Griezmann, he's not the kind of player to offer any kind of opportunity to. Parker there has just overrun the ball. Sidibé is the supremely gifted Kylian Mbappé wearing the number 10 shirt. Oh, that's a clever ball towards Giroud from Pogba. He looks up wanting the referee to give a penalty. He's not getting it.
At some point, you've got to put pressure on Paul Pogba. No pressure whatsoever. Little clip ball over the top. Cameron Carter-Vickers does a good job of getting between that ball and Zach Steffen. Giroud has a good argument. I think it would have been a soft penalty, but how about that ball from Pogba in behind?
Off the outside of the foot as well.
I think the referee's in a perfect spot. You can see his sideline. That's a good no call.
By the way, the VAR, video assistant referee, is not in operation here today. I thought it probably would be because it is going to be used at the World Cup, and you'd think that France would want to do that. Slip through towards Mbappé here. Parker doing the covering. He's an old school tough defender, is Tim Parker. But what a day to make your first start in the national team shirt. Well, the free kick is given against Shaq Moore. Another one making his first start for the team today. Plays his football, or has been, for Levante in La Liga in Spain. Well, he's holding his arm, but that's not a penalty, is it? Once again, Griezmann to take it. Giroud won the header and would have expected to score. You could tell from his reaction he was disappointed not to do so.
Well, and Tim Parker gets caught coming too close to that near post, so it's just a little back post run from Giroud. Wide open header. That's the one thing early on here. Shaq Moore's got to be extremely careful giving away set pieces that easily.
Now by Robinson on Sidibé. Conte. Across to Samuel Mtete. What's the buyout clause in that new deal from TT at Barcelona?
What was it, like 500 million euros?
Yeah, 500 million. I mean, I know inflation's rampant in the game, but you couldn't see anybody paying that.
Look at the partnership of Varane and Umtiti. Real Madrid starting center back in Barcelona. That's why you hear that argument that they're the best partnership going to Russia in the World Cup.
Certainly among them, aren't they?
I think Germany may have something to say about that, but
Brazil's isn't bad either. That'll be Thiago Silva and Miranda, I think. Adams did some good work there.
Good ball.
Yeah, it was, and Bobby Wood hadn't continued with his run towards the near post. Otherwise, he might have been in business. Dave Sarakan like that.
Well, and that's going to be the most difficult task for Bobby Wood tonight, is that you're going to defend for majority of the game, but then when the ball goes wide, you've got to be aware. It's exactly what Olivier Giroud wants to do. You and I talked about in the Open, and he's always been in the crosshairs, heavily criticized, but when we look at his time under Didier Deschamps, 22 of his 30 goals have come under this system right here that sets up perfectly to his strengths.
Miazga across to Cameron Carter-Vickers. Then Adams. Just one or two signs here of the US starting to settle a little bit better, push the ball around, not give it away, which is what they did really basically for the first 5-10 minutes or so. That's a poor one though that time from Parker. It's a big, steep learning curve for these players here. You hope that the experience doesn't end up ripping up their confidence at too early a stage, don't you? Pogba. Some good work there by Weston McKennie, who picks the ball up again here, and there's a nice spin from him as well into space. Is the young man who's been pretty regular in the Schalke team, which finished second in Germany this year. Conte under a bit of pressure, but illegally so.
Yeah, but I'm okay with that though. If you're Tyler Adams and Weston McKennie, at times you've got to get in front of Will Trapp and push forward. You can't just sit in, and I like that from McKennie and Adams early on here.
Just looking at Benjamin Mendy on the left side for France. He's almost playing like an out-and-out left winger, isn't he? They're pushed so high, the French fullbacks.
Well, the problem with that though is because Shaq Moore and Anthony Robinson are so deep. You know, so if you're going to set up in this type of formation and both of your wingbacks are going to sit so deep as if it's five in the back, you're just inviting both fullbacks of the opposition to push forward. And that's why I think the communication between Miazga, Carter-Vickers, and Miazga and Parker, at times you may want to push them a little wider so then those wingbacks can push higher up the field.
Mbappé and Griezmann trying to work something between them. That's going to be one of the things for that American defense, trying to track the clever movement of players like that, because everything's going to be happening at several miles an hour quicker, as Taylor's been explaining, than they've been used to. The last USA team to play against France was back in 2011 in the early days of Jurgen Klinsmann. France won 1-0 with a Loic Remy goal. In that team, Dempsey, Altidore, Beckerman, Carlos Bocanegra, Steve Cherundolo at right back. Superb right back he was. Distant memory now, though. Here's Adams. Now Parker. Did well as a substitute in Ireland last week, which is why I think he's got this start here. Plus they needed an extra centre-back to play this system.
It's a sloppy first touch from McKennie, because that's exactly what you want from your centre-back, and Matt Miazga, to play a ball that bypasses two lines into that hole. Sloppy first touch from Weston McKennie.
It was way too heavy. He's a pretty confident character by all accounts, though, McKennie. He's just going to love this experience. It's a bit like going from the shallow end of your local swimming pool out into the very deep ocean. Griezmann. Back to Pogba again, who plays on the right of the three-man midfield. They are playing a 4-3-3, but that can morph into other systems, really, depending on who's got the ball and where.
There's a better position, though, from Shaq Moore. You talked about Mendy having all the freedom in the world. Well, now Shaq Moore makes that 5-7 run to close down that space. Now Mendy can't get that momentum going forward. Learning on the fly.
Moore, by the way, today chosen for this assignment ahead of DeAndre Yedlin, who's the only player in the entire squad with over 50 caps.
Yeah, but do you and I need to see DeAndre Yedlin?
Well, that's the thinking, isn't it? That's the thinking, that let's have a look at somebody else. We know about Yedlin. Might see him later, mine. France with quite an array of talent just sitting on the bench. There will be a lot of substitutions later on. Here's Blaise Matuidi towards Giroud again. They always have that option with him in the team of getting in crosses. He is going to get so many chances, I think, at the World Cup, Giroud.
Well, because all the eyes are going to be on the dynamic players in wide areas. Griezmann, Mbappé, Dembele, they have a wealth of riches in those wide areas, and it opens up a lot of 1v1 opportunities for Giroud getting on the end of crosses.
Is Moore.
That's a good turn here from Bobby Wood.
It really was, wasn't it? Good, strong play. Wood, who has scored in both of his last two games, including last week against Ireland. In fact, he's been more prolific for the US than he's been for his club Hamburg this last season. Flag was up, offside. There's Mbappé. Lovely little cameo from him. Wherever you look in this French team, they've got a top-class player. They've got pace to burn, and they've got goals all over the place as well, with Griezmann and Giroud, Mbappé.
You could make an argument the 11 of the players that did not go could make the final roster, could make round of 16, if not the quarterfinals.
One of those players was Adrien Rabiot of Paris Saint-Germain, who was asked to be on standby and said, no, I'm not doing that. It caused a bit of a rumpus. He might not get another call for some time, I'd say. Might take the view you can have every summer off. Here's Mendy inside to N'Golo Kanté. Griezmann round the corner, picks it up again. Griezmann with a license to not only score but create, drop deep, do his damage anywhere he chooses. Here he is again. Lovely little ball to Giroud, got the last ball wrong. Played out by Carter Vickers. Is Will Trapp captaining the side for the 4th time already in what is only his 6th cap. Clearly a young man with leadership qualities. Well, no carnage yet for the US. We were quite fearful, weren't we, talking about this game beforehand. Adams. Green just joining in. He's been playing his football in the German second division for Greuther Fürth. They only just about avoided a relegation. He scored the vital goal that helped keep them up. Mbappé and Griezmann. Lovely interchange between those two. Mendy making space. Mbappé goes the other way and Parker is able to cut it out. There's Mbappé again. Griezmann! Across the face of goal. It is a corner kick. It took a deflection on his way through.
He's just so clever, isn't he? Every spot that Griezmann, that space he picks up, he's always off the back shoulder, he's coming in front, he's in behind. You're never in touch with him as a central defender. And he's always running off your shoulder. That puts you in such a precarious position. But Tim Parker's done a good job in the first 20 minutes of reading that running behind.
Yeah. Been working all week since they arrived on a battle plan for this game. To develop your point, Taylor, I love watching Antoine Griezmann. I don't think there's any other player quite like him in style around in the game. I think he will illuminate the World Cup. He was top scorer at Euro 2016. That's his corner going in that time. Again, it's well defended by Parker.
Well, and that's part of the strength that Didier Deschamps has built with those three in the midfield of Kanté, Matuidi, Tolisso, Pogba, whoever's in the three. They cover the ground to allow Griezmann to have that freedom tactically. But you've got to be a real smart tactical player to find those seams. Griezmann's that player. Griezmann
with the cushion header down. Pogba flicked it on, hoping there was somebody just behind him. Happily for the US, there wasn't. Of course, nobody will want to get injured, will they, for France? Not at this late stage. There's a bit of that mixed into the pot here, isn't there?
It's a fine line, though, because when you play and think about not getting injured, oftentimes you get injured. So that's difficult, especially in this first half. You expect the 45 France to get after it, put some pressure on the United States. But Ian, anytime you talk to a player a week away from the World Cup, it's the first thing they bring up. You can see it in their faces.
Here is Pogba. I think he wants to silence the critics, doesn't he, Paul Pogba?
Is he unfairly criticized in your mind?
Well, there's bound to be a big debate about him because of the transfer fee when he arrived. People expect so much of him. But I don't think he's been great for Manchester United this past season.
Me neither. But you could have a real good argument he's not being put in a spot to succeed either.
That's him again. Well played by Shaq Moore. Made a pretty good start over on that side. Traps ball to Robinson, who's got pace to burn. Young left wing back. Remains to be seen how many of these youngsters will be a big part of the USA's future. How many of the old guard ever find their way back? Will Clint Dempsey be stuck on 57 goals, level with Landon Donovan, all-time record? Matuidi now plays for Juventus after his 6 years at Paris Saint-Germain. Still winning titles. Mendy, it's an important workout for him. They've been managing his return from his cruciate ligament injury bit by bit at Manchester City and once he's linked up with the French squad. And they reckon he's ready to start this one. Griezmann curls another ball his way. Manchester City winning the title without him, basically. He's going to make them even better next season. Marseillaise breaking out among the French fans. I remember being on a metro train in Paris the night they won the World Cup. It was packed and the entire carriage was belting it out all the way back into the Champs-Élysées, where the party, of course, continued. It's the only time France have ever won the World Cup. Mbappe's little layoff. Oh! Corner kick deflected on the way through that effort from Kylian Mbappé. And
it's just overloading Will Trapp right now because Mbappé and Griezmann are coming in, playing on both shoulders of Will Trapp. So now he can't make one decision or the other to track Mbappé. It's one touch by him. Griezmann goes the other way. That's just how dynamic France is going forward. So much of it is off this man right here, Antoine Griezmann.
They haven't got a goal yet. Haven't broken through yet, which is a testament really to how concentrated these USA youngsters have been so far, working very, very hard.
And at some point, Dave Sarkin, and excuse me, need to get something from Bobby Wood and Julian Green.
Well, it's a devil of a job, isn't it, to get out of their own half at the moment, because France have probably got, well, it seems like about 75% possession. I haven't got the exact figure in front of me. Oh, Mendy's got in behind here. Mbappe's gone to the near post! Got there first, got his studs to it, but it doesn't go in.
And it's too slow of a reaction here from Tim Parker, and the miscommunication between Shaq Moore allows a simple run from Mendy in behind.
Almost a lethal counter-attack from the French. Too long for everyone from Antoine Griezmann this time. Coming up next, right after us, it's Major League Soccer on ESPN again as the Columbus Crew host Bradley Wright Phillips and the New York Red Bulls. Coverage beginning right after the conclusion of our match here on ESPN and the ESPN app, by the way, as well. And there's the Columbus Crew goalkeeper, Zach Steffen, being released, of course, for international duty. He's kept 5 clean sheets in a row for his club. Goalkeeper place very much up for grabs, isn't it?
Well, and I'm on the record, and I'll stay on the record. I think it's Zach Steffen's position to lose. When you listen to Greg Berhalter talk about it, even Dave Sarkin, current goalkeeper coach Matt Rees, they all talk about his ability to make that special save, but he's got good feet and the ability to play out. A big part of that is Greg Berhalter will trap his teammate the way they play, but Zach Steffen is one to watch for years to come.
Wonder how well he slept last night, thinking about Griezmann and company. Mind you, if you don't like a challenge like this, you probably shouldn't be a professional footballer.
Well, you shouldn't be a goalkeeper.
No, exactly. I think he was kind of thinking it's going to be a busy night. Griezmann. So far, that US defence, though, has kept him reasonably well covered up, to be fair. Mendy, seems everything's going through him on that side, on his weaker right foot, and it rather showed. He's a big star on social media, Benjamin Mendy. I don't think I know a player who got as much publicity while he was out injured as Mendy, who made friends with every Manchester City fan, it seemed. Green. Here's Will Trapp again. Has he got a new deal with his club?
Yep.
Trapp, yep. which is always good news, isn't it? Keeps the money coming in.
Well, and he's also one of the players that many of the U.S. national team fans on social media will say, why are we seeing Will Trapp today? And my argument is, well, when have we seen Will Trapp against this kind of competition? This is really the first real test in the U.S. national team jersey that we've seen Will Trapp. And quite honestly, he's been the only player in the midfield that's the back three can play out of trouble. And that's exactly the way Greg Berhalter and Columbus Crew have taught him. He's done very well tonight in playing out of pressure, and right on cue gives it away.
Always the way it goes. Here's Pogba. Sidibé cutting to the path of Conte. He doesn't usually get that far up the pitch. Fancied himself maybe for a goal there. He's only got one so far for his country.
And the United States have had a couple spells here where they've had a little bit of possession, but very little going through Bobby Wood or Julian Green. And so then when the ball turns over, France is in transition going the other way. At some point here, they've got to get a run out of the midfield, or they've got to have the ability to play into the feet of Julian Green.
There's Cameron Carter-Vickers with Sheffield United and Ipswich Town. Did okay, over 3,000 minutes of action. And he's just got a new deal from Tottenham Hotspur as well. Not that I think he's going to make their first team. It'll probably be another loan next year. Is Matt Miazga. By the way, at half-time today, we'll have an interview with the new general manager of US Soccer. Taylor Twellman has been talking to Ernie Stewart, and it'll be interesting to hear his views, because he's a man that the fans will definitely identify with, playing in 3 World Cups. And there needs to be a vision for the future. McKennie's ball forward.
Yeah, but I'm okay with that. And what are we, 32 minutes in, and that's the first time we've seen one of the 3 in the midfield look for that ball over the top. Now, obviously, Bobby Wood's got to open up that space, but you have to have the ability to take some chances. You can't play everything in the middle. I like this look here, and that's close.
I don't think it's offside. Close. I think it's level.
But at some point, either McKennie or Trapp got to push a little higher up the field and allow Julian Green to support Bobby Wood more.
The USA have only ever won once in France. That was 94 years ago against Estonia at the Olympic Games. Quickly played in towards Mbappé here. How quick is he, by the way? Almost Olympian speed. Matuidi, Pogba. Good effort from him. Wants a goal today, wants to cement his place. He knows about all the talk of Corentin Tolisso of Bayern Munich.
Well, Julian Green having to track back here, but a good cut from Paul Pogba. But it was the play earlier in this sequence where Tim Parker makes this tackle here. Now he goes to shake Mbappe's hand. He wants nothing of it.
That's inexperience, that, isn't it?
100%.
Concentrate at all times, get back in position. I think these youngsters, they'll learn more today probably than in the rest of their career so far put together. In a game situation anyway. Obviously in training they're learning plenty,
but in that sense, those are just little things. 34 minutes in, I'd say Tim Parker's had a good showing.
Yep,
he's had some good timely tackles, he's read some plays, but that little thing right there, listen, at the international stage, quite honestly, at the professional stage, there's no more lemonades, there's no more lemons, there's nothing afterwards. Not everybody gets a trophy, and Mbappé reminding Tim Parker about that. I'll give you a lemonade after this game, though. Oh, you deserve one.
Too much sugar, sorry.
I'll tell you,
it's got to go to water.
I haven't seen you in a while. You look good. What is it? It's that red tie.
I'll give you the $20 note later for the PR operation.
That'll be the first time in 8 years you ever gave me $20.
Lemonade.
Lemonade.
They all have these sports drinks, don't they, these days? sports scientists have a huge role to play, and of course they will at the World Cup as well, when another of the problems all the camps face is beating the boredom between the games. It's undone one or two squads down the years. It's poor ball really from Miazga. I mean, he just wanted a bit more movement from people ahead of him there. Show me something, he's saying. And that's a fair point as well. He's done well with Vitesse Arnhem in Holland. In fact, he scored a vital goal, helping them to get into the Europa League next season. He's still a Chelsea player officially, but he's playing loads of games, and that's important.
It is, but I would say that in order for his progression to continue, I'd like to see him in Bundesliga for the following year. I'd like to see him maybe move on. And listen, some people will shake their heads. He'll be playing in Europa League if he stays with Vitesse, but I'd like to see him move on. Good ball
Robinson's ball in there towards Wood, who'd got away from MTT there. It was good football there. It was all set up by Weston McKennie in midfield. And that really is the best the USA have produced so far. Well,
and Robinson's got that quality. He's got that quality to get forward and look for that final ball. My argument is, what was his option? It was only Bobby Wood and Tyler Adams making a 65-yard run as that second runner.
With just a bit more experience and composure, they'll start to get that sort of thing right and get that final ball spot on, because there was a possibility there. Griezmann again picking it up in the space. Again, the USA working hard. Whether they can sustain this for 90 minutes when they have so little time with the ball in the game. Wood was dispossessed by Giroud. His Pogba. Got an interesting ball back, but Trapp had read it. Doing his job well in that little space in front of the defence. And here's the skipper again. Good ball too towards Bobby Wood, who couldn't make it stick. Flag was up anyway. Mbappé. Tweedy up towards Griezmann, who could be moving to Barcelona this summer, by the way. Once again, Mbappé going through his party tricks, lays it back. USA defence all over the place for a moment, but they got the job done. And Miazga gives a little thumbs up back to Zach Steffen at the end of it all.
They're little things, but how often do you see Tyler Adams popping up in those little areas to support his back three? Those three center backs have had Tyler Adams next to him the entire first half.
Just stepping it up a gear, you sense France here now. They want a breakthrough. Let's get a goal. That's what they're thinking. They certainly want a goal-scoring send-off. They haven't scored less than 2 goals in a match in their last 7 games. But included in that, by the way, it was a shock home defeat against Colombia. Game in which they led 2-0 and lost 3-2 in March. Mendy, lovely ball. Griezmann's got space! Oh, and he didn't make it tell for once. I'll tell you what, I was expecting the net to bulge there because it was him.
Well, and immediately after Griezmann's run and then attempt on goal, you're seeing the conversation between Parker Trapp and Miazga. And you've always got to be aware of that space in behind. Because Tim Parker gets so caught up with that run in behind with Giroud, Griezmann finds that space at top of the 18. Not often with that time and space you see him miss the net. United States lucky.
Doesn't usually let you off. Varane won the header. Benjamin Mendy. Kylian Mbappé. Accelerating into space. Griezmann. Just putting the jets on a little bit now here, France. I think it's a tribute to this young USA side that they feel they need to do that as well. Robinson with the throw. Free kick going the way of France. MTT. Crowd of around 58,000 in this Groupama arena, which is the home of the famous Olympique Lyon, who not so long ago were winning the French title every year. Not these days, of course, with Paris Saint-Germain's money, and of course Monaco won it last season. Conte still drives his Mini. No ego. Doesn't matter how big a star he is.
8 years ago, he was in the 9th tier of French football.
Yeah, it's a great story.
What?
Hope for everyone, isn't there? Played again. Cameron Carter-Vickers. Almost a party atmosphere among the French supporters here. Feel like they can watch their team really with the pressure comparatively off. It certainly won't be the case next week when it all happens for real in Russia. Is Griezmann, and there'll be people here, won't there, from the Australian camp as well, doing a scouting report. Australia playing themselves, by the way, today against Hungary. Mexico are playing Denmark later too. Keep thinking, he says, Dave Sarakan.
Well, and there's that fine line that he and his staff are going to talk about at halftime of whether or not the three center backs led by Matt Miazga can push that line up a little bit higher. But if you do that, then you leave the space in behind, and that's a difficult task, I think, throughout the entire 90 minutes for this back line, especially for a young defender in Matt Miazga.
And the other thing he'll have to think about is how many substitutes he dare make, really, because he's got these players playing in this system. You start changing it all around, it might be hard to keep the same amount of tactical discipline. To Miazga again, who's the main man in that defence in the centre. Trap plays it to one side to Tyler Adams. And for once, on that right-hand side, they are able to get the wing back forward in Shaq Moore. It would be a sensation if the USA scored, wouldn't it? It would be a smash and grab. Go ahead last week in Dublin. Will Trapp's going to take it. It was a long way and bounces around dangerously. Miazga had got into a good position to win the header. He didn't quite manage to get the header on goal away. Pogba's release ball is in towards Griezmann, who got there first. And switched off again. He is so clever with his movement. Comes from just about 40 miles away from here, a place called Macon, does Antoine Griezmann. Never yet played for a French club. Kept on telling him he was too small. He ended up at Real Sociedad in Spain. Carter-Vickers. More inside. Here's Bobby Wood. From Honolulu. Moore again doing some good work. And there's Green scoring! Can you believe that? Julian Green and the USA go ahead with the first ever goal that they've scored in history against France. Now that is a sensation.
And completely against the run of play, but when you weather the storm and you just bend but don't break defensively, it allows you for that break, a sloppy touch with that ball in from Shaq Moore. But we've called Julian Green's name how many times? 2 in this entire first half. Great turn here from Bobby Wood, but Shaq Moore continues with the play. This ball's whipped in. Sidibé with a sloppy first touch, and a ton of credit for Julian Green to hit this first time. If he takes an extra touch here, that ball's not in the back of the net. And one's going to question Hugo Lloris on that near post. Coming into this World Cup in bad form, but tip your cap. Well done, Julian Green.
about that? Astonishing. Well, we knew 4 years ago at the World Cup he does have a goal in him. Scored against Belgium as a substitute for Jurgen Klinsmann. Difficult times since establishing himself. What a goal. He's hit that so well. It was a mistake. And it was almost the last kick of the half. Well, nobody could have predicted this half-time scoreline. France at concert pitch, supposedly anyway, and on their way to the World Cup finals in a week's time. One down. The one-time wonder boy.
Can they push that line up a little bit higher to take pressure off of their back three?
Trapp playing it out wide. Skippering this side. Only 73 caps between them, and 38 of those belonging to Bobby Wood, the Hawaiian striker. Here's Pogba to Griezmann. Towards Mbappé, that one's cut out again. Shackmore again doing his job. I said at the start, didn't I? Sink or swim. They'll find out plenty today, and maybe he's going to find out a little bit as well, Didier Deschamps, about this French side who are so highly fancied. You never quite know what you're going to get from them, though, France at a World Cup. 2002, they went there as champions to the Far East, didn't win a game, didn't score a goal, went out in the first round. 4 years after that, they make the final. And they were quarter-finalists, went out a bit tamely against Germany in Brazil.
So you're telling me Australia, Peru, and Denmark are going to knock out the French?
Who knows what will happen at the World Cup? Who knows? Who thought Costa Rica were going to top a group 4 years ago? Who thought Spain would go out in the first round? It's a lovely bit of work by Matuidi. Now it's Mbappé. Pogba, who hit the post early on. Griezmann! Always sailing wide. Loves this stadium, Antoine Griezmann. 2 here against Ireland, 2 in the Europa League final last month. Towards Bobby Wood, beaten in the air. Green did well again there. McKennie. Floated in towards a near post by Moore, who was involved in the goal. There were mistakes by the French. Sidibé allowing Green in, and then Lloris letting the shot in on the near post. To the USA care they don't a bit, and Crossmore gets it in. It's 2-0. Flags up, won't count. Bobby Wood thought he'd added a second.
It's sloppy, though, from Bobby Wood, because immediately when you see this as a center forward and Will Trapp plays this ball to Shaq Moore, you cannot make this kind of run. But because Bobby Wood doesn't make that 3-yard run back into the play, now he's offside. Completely unnoticed in that replay, that little touch from Will Trapp to open up the game for Shaq Moore. But Bobby Wood just a half a step behind mentally to recognize where that play was and where his run needed to be.
It's a good ball in again by Moore, though. And it's Griezmann. Matuidi is going to try his luck. And that ended up in, well, above row G.
When I go back to that, as we see Griezmann playing a ball into Matuidi, and we're starting to see the French have some opportunities from outside. That little touch from Will Trapp, but look at where Bobby Wood is. He's too anxious. You see that play, you see Shaq Moore with 10 yards of freedom. He's got to slow that run down. He's got to get in front of the defender, and then it's a simple finish.
Here is Wood again. Goals he's got for his country so far. It's a pretty respectable return. Just starting to make one or two forward runs from midfield. Start of the second half. Maybe that was something they talked about.
Well, I thought at times both he and Adams were on the same plane all the time. So you can't be stationary. You can't be in a similar spot. So one of them support Julian Green. It's going to open up space. Just watching that first half, though, Ian, you and I talking at halftime. How much ground does Tyler Adams cover? He's all over the park, doing the little things.
Certainly a tip for the top, that's for certain. Played inside by Moore. USA, by the way, wearing those rainbow numbers to celebrate Pride Month.
So you're going to Russia, huh?
Yeah.
Looking forward to it?
Looking forward to it, yeah. I mean, I always look forward to the World Cup. And I shall be mainly in the beautiful city of St. Petersburg. First game there, by the way, Morocco v Iran. Which will be interesting in Spain and Portugal's group. Here's Pogba. Benjamin Mendy for France, who are not bossing this in the way they would have thought. Pogba, early ball in, and him again. Doesn't get the last ball right, but he has been the pick of the midfield players today for France.
Yeah, but he's also had the freedom to roam forward. There's very little pressure on Pogba because you're seeing both Will Trapp and Weston McKennie sit in front of the three center backs. You know, at times I want to see the United States get out from that 18, 22 yards in front of their goal area and try to push forward and maybe make it a little bit more compact for the French to play through.
I think they're quite important for them not to leave too much grass behind them, though.
No,
they've got so much speed, haven't they? With Mbappé particularly, and I bet you Dembele comes on as well pretty soon, the Barcelona flyer. Misunderstanding in the middle of the pitch. Allowed Conte to pick up the ball.
Almost as good as that from Robinson.
Here's Parker. He's not got much time. Giroud getting in there. It is the USA's ball. Apart from an early header, Giroud hasn't had too much of a look in so far. Saying earlier, when it's basically the only real proper number 9 in their whole 23-man squad. Left out Lacazette of Arsenal. Could have picked Kevin Gamero as well. He didn't make it.
Well, and Mbappé can play there in a pinch, but ideally that's not where you want Mbappé to play. Was it a penalty on Djibril in the first half for you or no?
No. Got that right. Back to Conte. He's very much the holding midfield player. Others have the job of being more creative. Mendy gave the ball away there. Interesting to see how many minutes they think Mendy's got in him after his long injury. But he can't have dreamt it would go this well, can he?
No. But on the other hand...
If they win this, does that make him a strong contender for the job?
No, it does not.
Why not?
Because I don't think that's in the plan for Ernie Stewart. And that's why I think I have a huge amount of respect for Dave Sarakin and what he's done. Because he knew that, taking this and being that bridge to the next era, so to speak, in the next generation. But he has shown up, rolled up his sleeves, and done a great job in a very, very difficult situation.
Conte was brought down there. With the USA not giving an inch. They're contesting every blade of grass out there at the moment. And I think you can see the confidence of these young players rising. Because there must have been some fears that they would take a pounding today. Pogba trying to get better of Adams. Stuck to his task well. It will be a corner.
Tyler Adams again providing cover, providing balance. Robinson's caught out of position, so now you need your center midfielder to slide over. Tyler Adams doing all the little things very well.
Still France seek a breakthrough. Steffen got a fist to it. Wasn't the best of fists. Still just dropped around in the penalty area.
There was a head collision, it looked like, between Matt Miazga and Olivier Giroud.
Yeah. It's a bad one. And there'll always be worries, of course, for Didier Deschamps about any of his players picking up any kind of knock this close. Oh, look at that. Oh, my goodness me. Oh, that was a fearful clash of heads. And, of course, they've got to check for concussion as well. That looked horrible, didn't it? And they'll take as long as they need to take in this situation.
Oh. This is...
That's how it happened.
Under no circumstances should both players continue. When you watch this collision, this is by definition a head-on collision. Look at how both players react. Whether there's blood or not, it's besides the point.
So France's World Cup schedule, and Didier Deschamps will be worried about that with Olivier Giroud's injury, is Australia next week in Kazan, followed by Peru, who've had some good news with their striker Guerrero being cleared to play after his ban. And the last game is against Denmark with the threat of Christian Eriksen. So no chances surely will be taken here, and they obviously won't be too. France are going to, of course, make the change straight away, and the USA may well have to do the same as well. So Corentin Tolisso might come on here. And Ousmane Dembélé as well, to add his searing pace to the equation. Matuidi's going to make way for Tolisso, which is interesting. Not Pogba, Matuidi. Tolisso's definitely a strong contender to start for France next week. He's, of course, coming in on his former home stadium here in Lyon, where he was a big star and sold for a fair bit of money. Matuidi and Giroud off. Dembélé and Tolisso on for France. And Carter Vickers is...
Well, Matt
Miazga's gone off, yeah.
And Eric Palmer-Brown should be coming in.
Which is a big shame for the USA, because they would not have wanted to change that defence. Miazga's having a fine game. Carter Vickers has gone central there. Away Tolisso was getting involved. They were on that side. Got a big cheer when he came on from the Lyon fans in the stadium. Here's Dembele's first involvement. Bounces off him behind, and still the USA lead with nearly an hour gone.
You're looking at Tolisso getting a wide area. I agree with you, and I think Tolisso is going to have something to say with this starting 11. I think he'd be better with Kanté and Pogba as that number 8 role. Maybe leaving Matuidi out. Eric Palmer-Brown comes in, and it looks like Cameron Carter-Vickers will take Miazga's spot in the middle. And that's the right decision from Dave Sarachan. Cameron Carter-Vickers, he's in the game, he's involved, he's seen it, and then Eric Palmer-Brown's coming into a difficult situation here.
The others so far have passed the test, though. There is Palmer-Brown with the header as well. Only a second cap for the Manchester City youngster. Was heavily involved straight away. Dembele looking to make a big impression. He's one of those trying to force his way in to the starting lineup, of course. Another player who's had a long-term injury to overcome this season. Well, Dave Sarachan told us yesterday, didn't he, how impressed he'd been in training with Shaq Moore. One of the reasons that he's given him this chance tonight, starting, and you can see why he got the rave review.
Well, it reminds me a lot of you and I sitting together and we're watching DeAndre Yedlin 4.5 years ago before the World Cup. He reminds me a lot of him. I think he's a better one-on-one defender than Yedlin was at this time. You're doing something right if you're playing over 9 games in La Liga as an American fullback.
Yeah. It's a good start to his career. Sidibé to lay it inside. Here's Conte trying to get France going. Tolisso's ball inside, and Mbappé looking to measure it. Fantastic challenge from Carter-Vickers. Slid in, got the block in. There are one or two heroes back there among these USA rookies tonight. One of them is the man who just got the ball away, Tim Parker.
But what a completely different look this French attacking three is now with Mbappé playing the Olivier Giroud role. So this is different now for Cameron Carter-Vickers and Tim Parker. They were used to Giroud playing your traditional number 9 in between the widths of the 18. Now Mbappe's got the freedom to roam. He's going to find the spaces. He's going to come wide. Griezmann's going to come in. This is a more difficult task for Cameron Carter-Vickers and Tim Parker in particular.
There's going to be a lot more movement to do with. Here's Adams again, dispossessed that time by Griezmann. Well played by Julian Green there with that smart little back heel just to buy a bit of space. Look at France now pressing for that ball. What they wouldn't want here on the eve of the World Cup is to lose to this inexperienced American team. You can only imagine the kind of inquest that'll be going on this week. Well, that's given away by Tolisso there. Wood couldn't control it. McKennie. There's Robinson. Got a cross away. Just had Lloris wondering about his bearings.
I think it's a corner.
Yeah. Yep. Taking no chances. Hugo Lloris having been beaten on his near post.
He's looked unsure of himself, not only tonight, but you said it. Tottenham played, what was it, the home game against Juventus?
Yeah, didn't have a great night that night either. One or two other occasions.
He had the shocker against Sweden.
That will be another concern, I think, for Deschamps, that he's not, the skipper's not quite on the top of his game. Mind you, it'd be just like him to really bounce back to form when it mattered. McKennie making his presence felt, meeting the sandwich there. Went a long way. Once again, more attacking that ball. It's going to be a goal kick.
Well, let's go back to that goal in the first half. Here we are talking about Lloris in that form. I love that little turn from Bobby Wood. It allows Shaq Moore to get forward. But look at Julian Green, looking for that half of space. I love that hit at first time. But the more I watch this, Hugo Lloris cannot get beat on that near post. And he does as Julian Green scores his 4th goal.
Oh, it was a great hit by Green, though, as well. It was the pace that beat Lloris. Doesn't find its way to Pogba again. That USA defence doing their job. Is Bobby Wood this time. His club relegated from the Bundesliga Hamburg. A few broken hearts in that part of northern Germany. I guess it might mean that Bobby Wood might be on the move somewhere. But that is very much a subplot at the moment. Here's Pogba again. Tolisso muscled out of it. Nothing wrong with that, says the referee. You can see the confidence growing among some of these young American players. What's the verdict so far then, Taylor?
Well, it was all about seizing the opportunity. And you and I talked about so many of these American players are in between on their club moves. Yes, Tottenham, Chelsea, and the likes of own your contract, but you're going on loan. And where will you go on loan? A performance like this, when you look at what, the first 60-plus minutes, the United States have been up for it.
Lucas Hernandez has come on to play at left back, so Benjamin Mendy has only been given 65 minutes here. And there's another Atletico Madrid player, and a good one too. Dembele. Nice turn, wasn't it? Mbappé. Crowded out. Again, the USA defence doing their job really, really well. Griezmann. Here's Wood. He's got to hold this ball if he can. There's very little support around him, and he's lost it to Conte. Could have played it left. Had a bit of support from Robinson. As it is, there's more defending to do here. And this is where it might get tricky. This last part of the game. Pogba looks to bend one. No problem for Zach Steffen.
So many white shirts sitting on top of that 18. Very difficult for the French to find that half a yard. And if you're going to give up an opportunity, Pogba on a half a step, you're willing to do that. But now this growth in the learning experience that you often talk about, Ian, 67 minutes in, the United States at some point has to push out, play a little bit of the game. If they're going to sit on top of this 18 and try to weather the storm, the quality on the French, I just don't think that's as easy as it looks right now.
Ousmane Dembele.
My goodness. I mean, it's a half a yard and he's by you.
Yeah. The acceleration is something else, really. Just what you want with legs starting to tire, because they really have done so much work, these young players. Dave Saracan's plan to have players tucking in to congest those central areas has made it difficult. Hernandez was fouled there by Zach Moore. He's going to get the first yellow card of the day. He couldn't complain about that.
Easy decision for the referee. As Lucas Hernandez just a little touch behind Moore. He's by him. Shaq Moore left with no other decision. And again, the one criticism I would have of Shaq Moore, he's given up 2 or 3 dangerous free kicks for the French in these areas.
Kylian Mbappé is going to take this for France. That's been an extraordinary story so far here.
Keep an eye on Griezmann sitting right in front of Zach Steffen.
Mbappé! Oh, it nearly curled in, but it didn't curl quick enough. Joe Corona is going to come on for the USA here. Another change. Nabil Fekir, the man who's involved in a bit of a transfer tug of war just at the moment. It looked like he was moving to Liverpool. Griezmann here is going to make way. So the last time they'll see him before he goes to the World Cup. It looked like Fekir was signing for Liverpool from Lyon, but Lyon have announced in the last hour or 3 that the deal is off. So whether that's just another negotiating ploy, we don't know. But anyway, on comes Fekir to win his 12th cap. Julian Green, the goal scorer, is the player who will make way for Joe Corona, but he's done his bit, hasn't he? Press off Eric Lehigh if he wants to bolster that defence a little bit further as well, and the experienced Jorge Villafana, who was left back in the World Cup qualifying campaign, or non-qualifying campaign.
Yeah, but I also think you need to use the opportunity here. I'd be shocked if you don't see Josh Sargent for at least 15 minutes here. What a wonderful experience for an 18-year-old kid to come in here in a difficult situation and see the game out. The result doesn't matter, you know? And as crazy as that sounds, yeah, you're up 1-0, you're on the road against a World Cup favorite, but listen, you've got to maximize the opportunity here. And those players on the bench, you've got to make sure that they get that opportunity. And the injury to Miazga forces his hand with Eric Palmer-Brown. Josh Sargent's got to play at least 15 minutes tonight.
I'll leave you to tell the kids afterwards that the result doesn't matter if it stays like this. 70 minutes gone. It's Ian Darke and Taylor Twellman in Lyon, where the amazing scoreline is a very young USA team. 10 of the starting 11 with under 10 caps are leading the glittering stars of France, among the favourites for the World Cup, by a 1-0 scored by Julian Green just before half-time. He can't believe it. Antoine Griezmann. Again, the play was broken up. Bobby Wood turns into a bit of space. Tolisso under some pressure there from Joe Corona. He was one of those who was used in the Jurgen Klinsmann era. In fact, he started the Gold Cup final in 2013. Pogba turning away from McKennie, using his strength and driving. Trapp got an important little challenge in. It was an illegal one, but it did stop the development of the attack.
But Trapp, McKennie, and Tyler Adams getting a little stretched out here. Easy run for Paul Pogba to blow by all three of them. Well, Trapp left with no decision but to foul.
Free kick 30 yards out. Pogba fancies it. He wants it, doesn't he? So too does Fekir. Pogba, extra stripe on his arm, I guess, took precedence. And then from a long way, Lucas Hernandez.
And that's really been everything for the French national team in the second half. It's been anything from 25 yards out. Had very little opportunities breaking down the back three, back five for that matter, of the United States national team. They've weathered the storm.
So change at right back as well here with Benjamin Pavard coming on. He's made a good impression so far. He's the deputy right back to Sidibé and replaces him here. And Sidibé did make a mistake as well. And on comes Josh Sargent as well here to replace Bobby Wood for the USA. All change. Sargent's another player who's already scored for the USA. He's with Werder Bremen in Germany, and he's likely to get more involvement, you think, in the first team there next season. Player to keep an eye on, maybe. And DeAndre Yedlin comes on as well to replace Shaq Moore. Very good first start by Shaq Moore. I think maybe the only reason he's come off is because he's been booked. Yedlin, of course, is the most experienced player now in this squad. 52nd cap tonight. It was 4 years ago he really made his impression at the World Cup. Such an impression that Spurs signed him. Fekir to Hernandez. It's Conte now. Was dispossessed. That's a free kick to the US. You know, I think there's going to be a few fans watching this back home in America who are going to be saying, well, why didn't we use some of these promising youngsters a bit sooner?
That's a completely different conversation, though. In World Cup qualifying in a friendly.
I sometimes do that.
Yeah, I'm with you, but I do look at the Tyler Adams of the world and Weston McKennie's. I do think they would have had something to say to Bruce Arena and his staff if the United States were off to Russia in the next 5 days. Because I think their youthfulness, but also energy, would have ignited an older team. But that was also something that Bruce Arena, throughout his history, he didn't like a lot of young players. Everybody says, okay, well, Beasley and Donovan. But that's one of the things. These young kids need to play. And in order for the United States to progress on the world stage, they've got to get younger. They can't go to World Cups with 29, 30-year-olds. They got to go to World Cups with 23 and 24-year-olds.
I think Cameron Carter-Vickers as well is maybe into that argument too. He's really been good tonight. He doesn't look a stylish or elegant play. It's not easy on the eye, but he's been pretty effective. Fekir managed to find Corentin Tolisso again. It's broken up. Can you believe this scoreline at this point? I can't.
But I also think this is why the French scheduled the Americans, Ian, excuse me. When you look at it, this is exactly what they're going to get in their first World Cup game against Australia. I mean, Australia may play Tim Cahill, who's what, 38?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're going to go up against this kind of competition that first game with 11 guys behind the ball.
Tim Cahill could score at his 4th World Cup.
He probably will.
It's Fekir to take it. The near post. This is a pretty laboured effort, to be honest, from France. Maybe some interesting analysis, put it this way, about this game in France tomorrow, because not everybody is convinced that Deschamps is the right man to be in charge. Among his critics, by the way, Christophe Dugarry, one of his teammates in 1998, he says this team have no mental strength. We're going to find out in the next month or so. There's something of a phony war element, of course, about this. Is Mbappé, Pogba, given a lot of time. Hernandez stands it up towards the back post. Pavard was there trying to attack it. He's recently come on a sub. Conte once more. Fekir. Pavard. Mbappé, 1-1. France get their breakthrough at last. And the US's resistance is finally broken in the 78th minute.
To the delight of the 58,000 here, it was the local boy, Fekir, coming in here, laying a great ball off to Pavard. And look at that little half-a-yard run from Mbappé. It's off the back shoulder of Cameron Carter-Vickers. Opens up that space for a simple finish. That back five of the United States was bending all night long, and finally it broke.
McKennie gets a yellow card there, with Hernandez holding his head very painfully. And it goes to 1-1. Pavard involved in the goal. Has he made a case to be promoted ahead of Sidibé? for France in the starting lineup next week. Dembele, this might be hard for the USA here now. Free kick, central, there's tired legs and minds. They've worked very, very hard, and France will come at them very strongly.
This is the learning experience we're talking about. It's not playing 80, 81 minutes. It's playing 90 minutes in this environment against this kind of opponent. Now all of a sudden you've seen over the last 12 to 13 minutes the momentum change, the 58,000 plus breathing down your neck. Can the young kids respond and get out of here with the result? This is why you play this kind of friendly.
Well, the whole crowd here, certainly those supporting France, and that's nearly everybody, want Nabil Fekir to score here on what is his farewell appearance maybe on this ground, and Zach Steffen makes a good save. Aimé Jacquet watching on, assessing this French side. Nobody was ready for that in a blue shirt. The USA can't get a counter going.
It's just a little too sloppy. Now with the pressure on them, that possession out of the back, but very limited. This is where boys become men very quickly.
Yeah. Well, they'll have learned so very, very much here tonight. And in the long term, that can only be for the good of US soccer in these difficult and, well, painful times. Maybe the darkest hour is just before dawn. A lot of countries have had moments like this in their history and rebuilt effectively, including even Germany at one stage, right around the turn of the century. Pavard again. Here's Dembele. Can the US now hang on to what would be a very fine result? Parker nicking it away, but this will be a pretty long last 10 minutes. Comes Jorge Villafaña to lend his experience. One of the guys who's got a few more caps. This is his 19th, the Santos Laguna player, to replace Anthony Robinson, another young player who's done his reputation no harm at all today.
I'd like to see Anthony Robinson a little bit more. You know, it's one thing to get your feet wet against Bolivia. It's another thing tonight. And I thought he did a wonderful job of timing his runs forward, but also providing that defensive cover to the left side of Tim Parker.
So that's a like-for-like switch from Dave Sarakan. Mbappé again, and Dembele and Hernandez, and they were looking for the near post goal with Mbappé again.
Yeah, but that's one of the things I'm going to take away from this is Tim Parker's ability to read the game. As that play breaks down, Tim Parker's got to slide over because Cameron Carter-Vickers is caught out of position. He's done that 5 or 6 times tonight. Very well done. Go back to that save from Zach Steffen.
A save he'd expect to make, but he did make it. Just. Didier Deschamps has been in charge since 2012 now. After Laurent Blanc's reign ended. Now then, USA with another opportunity, driven across the face of goal. And that might have been something else again.
Ball still in.
Josh Sargent was involved in the build-up here.
Well, and that's the one thing in the Under-17 World Cup and the Under-20 World Cup that Josh Sargent is extremely confident playing with his back to goal. And just the little flicks and keeping possession and running off. Great little touch there. Tyler Adams putting Joe Corona in.
Do stay with us after this game, because following it, Columbus Crew against New York Red Bulls. Both teams doing pretty well in the East. That's Greg Berhalter against Jesse Marsh, two of the MLS coaches who might be among the contenders for the permanent job.
It's not might. Definitely.
Belly on the chase again. You don't envy defenders who will have to face France at the World Cup with the pace of Dembele and Mbappé around.
Good recovery here from Cameron Carter-Vickers. And Ian, remember as well, all the other MLS matches tonight will be on ESPN+.
Yep.
We go back to that goal from France. I love that little run from Mbappé. It's just a half a yard. You've got to find that half a yard of space to give you the ability and that space to hit it first time off the back shoulder of Cameron Carter-Vickers. Good ball in from Pavard.
Saw the head sag there on the turf of Cameron Carter-Vickers, who's been absolutely terrific back there tonight. Only 20 years of age. Only his 4th cap as well. Remember Mabiaska having to go off after a clash of heads with Olivier Giroud. He seemed to be okay when he came off, but you never know with these things. Needs a full check-out. Fekir now for France as the clock ticks round to the 86th minute. Any doubts about Pogba not being a starter for France have probably been banished tonight. Matuidi was the player taken off, maybe significantly too. Tolisso, Hernandez, and now Dembele. And well played again by Parker, really cool.
About it a little bit tonight, 4 years ago, preparing for 2014 World Cup. When you watch Tim Parker, is it off to say he reminds you of Matt Besler?
Yeah. I remember Besler coming in, I think it was only his 2nd cap in the Azteca.
Yes.
And they kept a clean sheet, and that was him established in the team. I wonder if Parker might be around for a long time around this US team. As we were saying earlier, he's the old school type. He just wants to defend. On comes Thomas Lemar of Monaco now. Not going to get too long. Off goes Mbappé. A little bit of a knock, nothing much. He's okay, and he's on the score sheet. Only started 2 of the qualifiers, Mbappé. Conte. Lays it forward to Fekir. He's very versatile. He can play just off the striker, drop even deeper, makes goals, scores them. 18 in Lyon in France. Here he is on the ball again. I think he got the big cheer because the Lyon fans now believe their hero's staying.
Yeah, but the one thing I've noticed since he's come into the game, he's got the ability to break down defenders in tight spaces. So if you're going up against an Australia-like defense the way they have tonight, Fekir's the kind of player where he doesn't rely on his pace, but more of his ability in tight areas.
Yeah, he's crafty. He's got quite deceptive acceleration as well. Here's Pavard. One eye on the clock for the USA, because a 1-1 draw here would be a result beyond the wildest dreams, I think, of the US soccer team going into this game. Nobody used the words damage limitation, but I'm sure they were playing around the minds of a fair few people. It did look an, well, north face of the Eiger type of job. But it's 1-1, and it would be a bit of a heartbreaker for the US now if they weren't to hold on. There might be a fair bit of added time as well. Here's Lemar, He's been in good form in the pre-season, pre-World Cup games. Again, good tenacious work from the US. Joe Corona doing his job very well in there. Not that much time is going to be allowed for DeAndre Yedlin. It's important if they can for the US when they do get the ball to try and keep it for a little bit. Pavard to lay it back. Conte again. France on the plane to Russia tomorrow. US on the plane home. It's a big week because the US will find out whether the bid for the World Cup alongside Mexico and Canada has been successful. Stage it. Wednesday, isn't it, the big decision?
That's why there's not a single US soccer official here in attendance.
Yeah.
Ernie Stewart, the new GM, Skyped the players last night, but there's no officials here.
There's work to do on the bid, and Morocco, of course, are in it as well. Lamar flashes across the face of goal with Pavard waiting.
Oh, Joe Corona gets away with one here, sleeping. You've got to be aware of your surroundings, the situation, and that is just too easy for Lamar. Making that run in behind Joe Corona. Lucky that ball's hit wide.
Well, Zach Steffen can be excused for taking his time over this. He's getting a few whistles from the French fans. He won't worry about that. Towards McKennie. Again, good defensive work from the US. Palmer Brown sticking his leg up, but Dembele has it now on the right-hand side. It will go behind and deflected wickedly, and Steffen had to perform some acrobatics to tip that over.
Well, this ball's whipped in. It looks like it hits Tyler Adams in the face. Great reaction here from Zach Steffen. But the three center backs have been slow to react over the last 12 to 13 minutes of this second half.
Lamar with the corner. Varane is in there with a header, which wasn't a very convincing one. Shots in this game, France 18, USA 2. But one of those two went in. Wants a win, doesn't want to leave for the World Cup with a draw against a very fresh-faced USA side.
You would have to think, though, that head injury to Olivier Giroud is at the forefront of his concerns.
Yeah, if it's a concussion, he'll be serving a ban, won't he? Well, because that's stipulated, isn't it?
Well, that's also what you and I talked about. He doesn't have an out-and-out number 9 behind Olivier Giroud. He made that decision because in L'Equipe, over the last couple of days, he talked about Mbappé having that tactical freedom. He can play in that role. But Olivier Giroud has been a huge part of what Deschamps wants in the system.
He'd scored 4 in the 7 games prior to this one. Didn't get much of a look in today. Added time now. Most people predicting this game beforehand were thinking it might be something like 4-0, 5-0, some predicting even worse. But the USA are holding on at 1-1 in the final seconds. Pogba. And no way through for Dembele. Long-range shot from Fekir. Steffen had to make an important save. Dembele!
The second save was much better. You've got to be kidding me.
Tremendous work from the goalkeeper, and Parker did a bit of covering as well in there. And the USA have pulled off what is really a remarkable result here, bearing in mind the inexperience. There's the Steffen save, Dembele again, and then he makes another one.
Yeah, but for someone that's that body frame, this save is one thing, but you've got to get up, react. Dembele hits that perfectly. That ball's behind Zach Steffen. We saw it last year in the MLS Cup playoffs. Time and time again for the Columbus Crew. Zach Steffen with a huge save.